I was 45, staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, wondering where the years had gone. My name's David, a regular guy with a decent job, a house in the suburbs, and a marriage that used to feel like a dream. But that night, my wife, Claire, said something that hit me like a freight train. "You're too old, David," she spat during a heated argument, her words slicing through 15 years of marriage. Too old? I wasn't even halfway through my life, or so I thought. But the way she looked at me, like I was a relic, outdated, irrelevant, made me question everything. I stood there, gripping the sink, replaying her words, feeling the weight of them settle in my chest. How did we get here? How did the woman I vowed to love forever turn into someone who could say that to me? It wasn't always like this. Claire and I met in our late 20s, back when life felt full of possibilities. She was vibrant, ambitious, a lawyer with a sharp mind and a smile that could light up a room. I was a high school history teacher, steady, dependable, maybe a bit predictable. We built a life together, date nights, vacations, even a dog named Max. But over the years, something shifted. Claire's late nights at the firm became later. Our conversations grew shorter, colder. I thought it was just the grind of life, you know? You get older, things change. But that night, her words weren't just about age. They were about me. Like I wasn't enough anymore. What she didn't know was that someone else saw me differently. Someone who wasn't supposed to. Claire's younger sister, Emily, was 25, full of energy, with a laugh that could make you forget your problems. She'd been staying with us for a few weeks, helping out while she figured out her next step after grad school. Emily was always around, asking me about my day, joking about my old vinyl collection, or stealing fries off my plate at dinner. It felt easy. Too easy, maybe. I didn't think much of it at first, just a sister-in-law being friendly. But then I started noticing things. The way her eyes lingered a little too long. The way she'd find excuses to be near me when Claire wasn't around. That night, after Claire's words left me reeling, I walked downstairs to clear my head. The house was quiet, except for the soft hum of the TV. Emily was there, curled up on the couch, her face lit by the screen. She looked up, her eyes soft, searching. "You okay, David?" she asked, her voice gentle, like she could see right through me. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because what she said next changed everything, and it wasn't something I was ready for. What did Emily say that night that turned my world upside down? I sat on the edge of the couch, trying to shake off Claire's words from earlier that night. Emily was still there, her eyes fixed on me, waiting for an answer I didn't have. The TV flickered with some late-night show, but the room felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. I'd known Emily for years. She was just a kid when Claire and I got married, barely 10, always trailing her big sister around. Now, at 25, she was different. Confident, curious, with a spark that made you notice her. She'd shown up at our house a month ago, her life a bit of a mess after grad school. Claire offered her the guest room, said it'd be temporary. I didn't mind. Emily was easy to have around. Too easy, maybe. Claire and I had been drifting for a while. She was 35 now, still beautiful, but there was a distance between us I couldn't bridge. Her law firm consumed her. Late nights, weekend meetings, always some big case. I tried to talk, ask about her day, but she'd brush me off, saying she was tired or I wouldn't get it. I started feeling like a guest in my own home. Meanwhile, Emily was the opposite. She'd ask about my classes, laugh at my dumb history jokes, even help me grade papers over coffee. It was innocent, I told myself. Just a sister-in-law being kind. But there were moments, her hand brushing mine when we washed dishes, or the way she'd smile when I caught her staring, that made me wonder if I was reading things wrong. Our house wasn't big, just a cozy two-story in a quiet neighborhood. Max, our golden retriever, was usually the one keeping things lively, but even he seemed to sense the tension lately. Claire and I argued more, about money, about time, about nothing at all. That night, when she called me too old, it wasn't just an insult. It was like she was done with me, like I didn't fit into her life anymore. I kept thinking about how she used to look at me, back when we'd stay up talking about dreams we'd chase together. Now, it was like she saw someone else when she looked at me. Emily, though, she saw me. Or at least, I thought she did. That night on the couch, her question hung in the air. "You okay, David?" I mumbled something about being fine, but she didn't buy it. She shifted closer, her knee brushing mine, and I felt my heart jump. This wasn't right. She was Claire's sister. But then she spoke again, her voice low, almost a whisper. You don't deserve that, you know. Her words hit me hard, and before I could respond, she leaned in, her eyes locked on mine. What was she about to do, and why couldn't I look away? Emily's words hung in the air, her face inches from mine. You don't deserve that, David, she said again, her voice soft but steady, like she'd been holding it in for weeks. My heart pounded, and I froze, torn between pulling away and wanting to hear more. This was Claire's little sister, practically family. But the way she looked at me, her eyes bright with something I couldn't name, made my stomach twist. I mumbled, Emily, what are you saying? But my voice cracked, betraying the mess in my head. She didn't back off. Instead, she reached out, her fingers grazing my hand, and I felt a jolt, like I was doing something wrong just by sitting there. I stood up, pacing toward the kitchen, trying to put space between us. The house was too quiet, Claire upstairs probably asleep, oblivious to whatever this was. Emily followed me, her bare feet soft on the hardwood. David, wait, she said, her tone urgent. I see how she treats you. Like you're invisible. You're not invisible to me. My chest tightened. This wasn't just kindness anymore. This was something dangerous, something that could unravel everything. I turned to face her, and her expression, part defiance, part vulnerability, made it impossible to look away. Emily, you can't say stuff like that, I said, but my words felt weak, like I didn't fully believe them. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. Why not? I'm not a kid anymore. I know what I feel. My mind raced. Was she serious? Was this some impulsive crush, or had I missed something all these weeks? I thought of Claire's coldness, her too old jab, and how Emily's warmth had been pulling me in without me even realizing it. Guilt churned in my gut, but so did something else, something I hadn't felt in years. I opened my mouth to shut this down, to tell her this was a mistake, but then we heard it, a creak on the stairs. Someone was coming. Emily's eyes widened, and I turned toward the sound, my heart hammering. Was it Claire? Had she heard us? Or was this about to get even more complicated? The creak on the stairs stopped my heart. Emily froze, her eyes locked on mine, wide with panic. The air felt thick, like the walls were closing in. I whipped around, expecting Claire to be standing there, her face twisted with betrayal. But it was just Max, our dog, padding down the stairs, his tags jingling. I let out a shaky breath, but the relief was fleeting. Emily's words, I know what I feel, still echoed in my head, and I could barely think straight. This wasn't just a moment. It was a line we were dangerously close to crossing. I stepped back, my hands up like I could push the whole situation away. Emily, this is wrong, I whispered, but my voice sounded hollow, like I was trying to convince myself. She didn't move, just stood there in the dim kitchen light, her expression fierce yet fragile. Wrong? David, what's wrong is you staying in a marriage where you're not even seen. Her words stung, hitting too close to the truth. Claire's coldness, her too old comment, had left me raw, and Emily's attention felt like a lifeline I shouldn't want. I shook my head, pacing again, my mind a tug-of-war between guilt and temptation. You're her sister, I said, almost pleading. We can't do this. But Emily stepped closer, unafraid, her voice barely above a whisper. Then why haven't you walked away yet? Before I could answer, the front door clicked. My stomach dropped. Claire wasn't upstairs. She'd been out, probably at another late meeting. The door swung open, and there she was, her briefcase in hand, her eyes narrowing as she saw us in the kitchen. What's going on? She asked, her tone sharp, slicing through the silence. Emily didn't flinch, but I felt like the floor was crumbling beneath me. I stammered, just talking, but Claire's gaze darted between us, like she could sense the tension in the air. Max whined, circling her feet, but she ignored him, stepping closer. Talking about what, David? Her voice was ice, and I saw something in her eyes, suspicion, maybe hurt. Emily stayed quiet, but her silence felt loud, like she was daring me to say something or nothing at all. My heart raced, my mind scrambling for an excuse, but every word felt like a trap. Claire set her briefcase down with a thud, her eyes locked on mine. You've been different lately, she said, her voice low, accusing. Both of you. The room felt like it was about to explode, and I knew whatever happened next would change everything. What was Claire about to say, and how was I going to face it? Claire's eyes burned into me, her suspicion like a blade. "You've been different, David," she said again, her voice trembling with something I couldn't place. Anger, fear, or both. I opened my mouth to deny everything, to say Emily and I were just talking, but before I could, Emily spoke up. "Claire, stop pretending you care," she snapped, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. I froze. This wasn't the Emily I knew, soft, playful. Her face was defiant, almost reckless. Claire's jaw dropped, and for a second, the room was dead silent. Then Emily dropped the bomb. "I love him, Claire, and he deserves better than you." My heart stopped. She didn't just say it. She meant it, every word dripping with conviction. Claire's face went pale, her eyes flicking to me, searching for the truth. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Emily's confession wasn't just a spark, it was a wildfire, and I was caught in the middle. But Claire's next move was even worse. She laughed, a cold, bitter sound, and said, "You think you're the only one with secrets, Emily?" What did Claire know, and how was this about to tear us all apart? Claire's bitter laugh echoed in the kitchen, her eyes glinting with something dark. "You think you're the only one with secrets, Emily," she said, stepping closer, her voice low and venomous. My heart pounded as I stood between them, the air crackling with tension. Emily's confession, "I love him, Claire," hung like a guillotine, and I was still reeling, unable to find words. Claire turned to me, her face a mix of hurt and fury. "Is it true, David? Are you in love with my sister?" I wanted to scream that it wasn't like that I hadn't crossed that line, but guilt choked me. Emily's attention had stirred something in me, something I hadn't felt in years. Before I could speak, Claire reached into her briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers, divorce papers. "I was going to wait," she said, her voice breaking. "But clearly, you've made your choice." My stomach dropped. She thought I'd betrayed her, but it was worse. She'd been planning to leave me. Emily stepped forward, unafraid. "He didn't choose me, Claire. I chose him. Because you gave up on him." The sisters locked eyes, years of unspoken rivalry spilling out. I felt like a pawn in their war, my marriage crumbling in real time. "Enough," I shouted, my voice raw. "Claire, I didn't ask for this." "Emily, you can't just—" I stopped, my head spinning. I loved Claire, despite everything, but Emily's words had cracked open a truth I'd ignored. Our marriage was broken long before tonight. Then came the final twist. Claire's eyes softened, and she whispered, "I've been seeing someone else, David. For months." The room tilted. She wasn't just leaving me. She'd already moved on. Emily gasped, her defiance faltering. I stood there, numb, as Claire grabbed her briefcase and walked out, the door slamming behind her. Emily reached for my hand, but I pulled away, my world shattered. Claire was gone. Emily's love was a weight I couldn't carry, and I was alone. What would I do now, standing in the wreckage of my life? The door's slam echoed in my ears as Claire left, her confession. I've been seeing someone else, cutting deeper than anything else that night. I stood in the kitchen, numb, staring at the divorce papers she'd left on the counter. Emily was still there, her hand hovering near mine, but I couldn't look at her. My life with Claire, 15 years of memories, was unraveling, and Emily's feelings, however real, felt like a storm I hadn't seen coming. "David," she whispered, her voice soft, pleading. I didn't mean to ruin everything, but I shook my head, stepping back. "I need time, Emily," I said, my voice hoarse. She nodded, tears in her eyes, and slipped upstairs, leaving me alone with Max whining at my feet. Days turned into weeks. Claire moved out, her things gone so fast, it was like she'd never been there. We signed the papers in a cold lawyer's office, barely speaking. She admitted her affair was with a coworker, someone who got her, she said. It hurt, but I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. I kept teaching, grading papers, walking Max, trying to piece myself back together. Emily stayed in the guest room, but we barely talked. Her confession lingered, a weight neither of us could carry yet. I didn't know if what she felt was love or just a rebellion against Claire, and I wasn't ready to find out. One evening, I found a letter tucked under my coffee mug, Emily's handwriting. She was moving out, heading to a new job in another city. "I'm sorry for the mess I made," she wrote. "I meant what I said, but I know you need to heal. Maybe someday we'll figure this out." I sat there, reading it over, Max's head in my lap. Part of me wanted to call her, to ask her to stay, but I didn't. She deserved her own path, and I needed mine. Months later, I was different, not fixed, but stronger. I started running again, something I hadn't done since my 30s. I reconnected with old friends, laughed more, even adopted a second dog to keep Max company. Claire's words, "too old," lost their sting. I wasn't too old to live, to feel, to start over. Emily sent a postcard once, a simple note about her new life. No pressure, no expectations. I kept it on my fridge, a reminder of a moment that broke me, but also woke me up. Life doesn't wrap up neatly like a movie. I don't know if I'll see Emily again, or if Claire will ever look back. But I learned something. You're never too old to choose yourself, to find meaning in the mess. And as I walked Max and his new buddy under the autumn leaves, I felt ready for whatever came next.